Hello, everyone. It's getting closer and closer to the holidays, and there have been plans and changes in schedules and everything going on. So I'm just going to jump straight to the highlights today, and let's switch. All right, we are on. First one is from ingredients, it's a supplemental highlight. So I don't know if I'm going to talk more about it, but let's just read it. Transforming toxic plants into edible food is the bare minimum amount of processing that we as a species can do. We have been doing this for much of our history, and many people still rely on this basic form of processing to this day. Sure, you know, I don't know if I agree with this anymore, at least not in the full strength of force, but just because we can transform toxic plants, we can deal with it. It doesn't mean that we become lax with our food choices or nutritional choices and stop taking care basically. And so I won't put too much stock into this and just move on. Effortless. Okay, just think how the trajectory of your life can shift in the most fleeting of moments, the moments where we take control. I choose, I decide, I promise, or from now on. The moments we let go of emotional burdens, I forgive you, I'm thankful, or I'm willing to accept that, or the moments when we make something right, please forgive me, let's start over, I won't give up on you, or I love you. In each new moment, we have the power to shape all subsequent moments. I think the author does a wonderful job in bringing in all the different examples, and shows the power of decisions. The decisions that we take upon ourselves, and when we say to ourselves that one of these things, like I choose or I decide, and I'm moving on. I'm not going to stay stuck with this previous notion going forward. I've made up my mind to make a change, and I'm going ahead with it. And all these examples, all these wonderful examples, yeah, in each of those moments, we have the power to shape all subsequent moments. So I'm not going to say more about this. I think, like I said, the author is doing a wonderful job over here, covering all the different examples. And yeah, I'm just taking a moment to reflect on it. Like how powerful these phrases are. And let's move on. Extreme ownership. But a leader must remain calm and make the best decisions possible. To do this, SEAL combat leaders utilize, prioritize, and execute. We verbalize this principle with this direction: relax, look around, make a call. Right. So, in the heat of the moment, when things are falling apart, and we might kind of want to jump towards action, that no, let's just get this done, let's do this, and we won't think as much. It is at that exact moment why we should, as leaders, remain calm and make best decisions possible, because everyone's looking at you as a leader. And if you're going to flounder, and if you're going to kind of beat your hands around and start picking up any action that comes in front of you, everybody else is going to do the same thing, and then as a team you're not going to make the best decisions possible. So that is why the example over here, the SEAL combat leaders, they utilize what is called as prioritize and execute. So everything that's going wrong, prioritize what's the problem and pick it up, execute. I mean, of course, execution can mean delegation also, right? But like within your team, you're building leaders. So you may be looking around, you may be taking input, and you may be delegating. All of that is happening, but the concept still remains: prioritize and execute. It doesn't mean you're doing it alone. You're doing it with your team, but you take a step back, calmly prioritize and execute. We'll move on. 7.5 lessons about the brain. No wonder people create so called echo chambers, surrounding themselves with news and views that reinforce what they already believe. It reduces the metabolic cost and unpleasantness of learning something new. Unfortunately, it also reduces the odds of learning something that might change a person's mind. So the author is referring to, how when we come across something that we don't agree with, or something that requires us to change our method of thinking, or change our beliefs even, how you know how difficult it is, and why it takes so much effort on our part to do that. That is because the brain has built a neural pathway based on your beliefs, and if you're going to change them, if you're learning something new, as in something drastically new and drastically different, it's rewiring those paths in the brain, and that is an energy intensive process. It takes time, it takes a lot of energy, and brain is one of the most expensive organs we have. Not one of the, I think it's the most expensive organ that we have. I think there was this figure of 20% of the total energy that we consume is by brain, and that's much significant, much more higher than the the ratio of weight of brain and the body. So it is a really intensive, energy intensive operation to rewire the brain, and it feels painful, which is why most people will rather stay in their comfort zone and not learn something new, not learn something different, and keep staying in what they believe. And like the author says, they create something called echo chambers. So yes, that's the highlight. Let's move on. As a man thinketh. Even the average person will benefit from taking their first steps in tranquility. In business and all the relationships, people prefer a calm, even keeled partner. The more peaceful a person becomes, the greater the success and influence. Others will trust them, be drawn to them, and lean on them in times of trouble. This kind of mirrors a lot, to what we just discussed about in the context of a leader, with this the book Extreme Ownership. So it's very similar to that. So I don't feel like I have to talk about this again. People are looking at you, and I mean, of course, there is no mention of leadership over here, but this applies to everybody, and so does leadership. Really, I mentioned over there as well that leadership is, everybody is a leader in a team. They have different scopes of influence, but everyone is a leader. So as a person as well, the calmness, the tranquility, even the average person benefits. And okay, I don't really like that phrase average person, but yeah, okay, it doesn't really, it's not really written in the spirit of what is considered average today. It's a different notion. This book is, what I think, it's about like a century old, I think, maybe more. So yeah, it's just a different background. It's not the same meaning of what like the connotation of average today. It just, in my opinion, it's like the author is generalizing that pretty much everybody. It's not like what is considered as a highly productive person or highly efficient person, or a person at a very high position, like a very high position in organization chart, for example. But pretty much everybody, and like that just tells to me again that that everybody is a leader, just a different word. And yeah, let's move on. Again, no, 7.5 lessons about the brain. That's coming up quite frequently. Some neurons in your brain are so flexibly connected that their main job is to have many jobs. An example is one part of your famous prefrontal cortex called the dorsomedial prefrontal cortex. This brain region is always engaged in body budgeting, but it's also regularly involved in memory, emotion, perception, decision making, pain, moral judgments, imagination, language, empathy, and more. All right, I think everything's in here, and like I said, I'm no expert over here, so I can't really say more. We'll move on. Principles. Maturity is the ability to reject good alternatives in order to pursue even better ones. Right. So there was this in another book, I think, maybe Getting Things Done. Maybe it was in that, but there was this. The book, it referred to a technique where somewhere, like people, they were asked to write down 25 of the most important action items or tasks, 25 most important tasks they have, and then they had to sort it so that like in the order of importance. So the most important task was at the top, and then the task with next importance next, and so on. And the recommendation was, uh, focus on the first five, keep that as your to-do list, and like look at those as your projects, and the next 20, avoid it at all costs. Not like do it if you have time, nothing of that. you're not touching those. These are your 20, these are 20 of your most, 25 most important tasks, and the author is asking you to avoid them completely in the favor of the top 5. That's the most important one. And it's kind of paradoxical, it's kind of unintuitive. If you think about it, it makes sense, because I mean, it's really a stretch to do anything more than 5 things. And if we keep an option to do, have a list of other things which we'll pick up when we have time. And there are a lot of different studies in different books and everything. How our brain falls down to the easier things. Like we are scared of the excellent things that we can do. Like a lot of different books, a lot of different studies. We're scared of the excellent things we can do. We would rather that not change. We will just keep that in status quo and look at things which are not as important, because we feel safer doing things which are not important. And I know this, it's little difficult to make sense of these things. uh, right, and I'm not really sure how to explain this in a better way, but like different highlights that have come across in like all of these different all of these different days I've covered different highlights, and they point to this, that you know the idea of a task which is not important, which is not really helping you, maybe mildly helping you, and that takes up all the prominence compared to the task that actually makes a meaningful difference to your life. So yeah, I think maybe this is something that's going to come up again and again, because I have a lot of highlights around this particular point. So we'll move on now. For now, becoming a category of one, consistency of performance can be the most powerful differentiator of all. Okay, again, I don't think I can talk more about this. It's you know pretty straightforward. Like a differentiator in sense of what differentiates you from your competition in a business or anywhere. So if consistency is the most powerful differentiator, you don't have to have worry about having something um, flashy different. Consistency can be the most powerful one. People will come back for that. So we'll move on. Stolen focus. Here's another one, he said. Infinite scroll. That's his invention, where when you get to the bottom of the screen, it automatically loads more and more forever. What's going on there is it's catching your impulses before your brain has a chance to really get involved and make a decision. And infinite scroll has been one of the kind of like the most distracting things. We are absentmindedly looking at Twitter feed, or I don't know what else. Like Twitter's the only thing I've kept really anymore. So yeah, shopping also. I think many shopping apps do this. So you scroll up, and we reach at the end of the list, and the app just introduces new items to the list. And yeah, what's going on there is it's catching your impulses. Before you can make a decision, do I want to go to the next page? Because they know you're not going to go to the next page, and that is why they load it right then and there. So you're not making a choice. They are making a choice for you. So infinite scroll, it's one of the most dangerous inventions to come out of this whole game on grabbing attention. And we'll move on. Okay, this has come up after a while. So when you find yourself facing a goal that's highly important, framing your progress based on what you haven't yet um, completed may be more motivating than thinking about what you've already done, accomplished. Okay, not completed, accomplished. Yeah, that this it's kind of reminds me of different keywords. So about the highlight itself, I think this has come up multiple times. So in the interest of time, I think quite at I'm at 14-minute mark. So I'm going to leave it at this. So that's I have to go look at that. So yeah, that's anyway. I'm not going to read this. Although Conscious Business is a book on my to-do list, but I'm not going to read this because there is a alarm I have to go disable. And yeah, that's it. Have a good rest of the day and see you tomorrow. Bye bye.